Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tabor Talk. I'm your host, Michael Tabor. So, the greatest podcast on planet Earth, the Joe Rogan Experience. And by the way, 10-year anniversary coming up, December 24th, 2009, Christmas Eve, and I was there. And by the way, you could still watch that. So it's just Joe. I believe he's in his basement, and he's just his laptop with Brian Redband, and they're setting it up. And it's really, you talk about guerrilla style. Oh my God. But it's actually pretty good. It's because it's Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is simply the best. So I've been listening to him for 10 years. I listen to every single podcast from beginning to end in its entirety. Now, I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen most of them. I've not seen some of his MMA programs, and I gotta tell you, you talk about an education, right? So I have a bachelor's degree in journalism. I've learned way more on his podcasts for 10 years. Scientists and writers and politicians and then athletes and comedians. There's everything is there. It's the greatest show, and I've not gotten sick of it at all. It's getting better and better. And if you look at Joe, the early days, right, 2009, 2010, and today, you can see how he's grown. It's so crazy. So Joe was 42 years old when he started his podcast, and he's 52 now. So he's definitely evolved, and he's better. Although there is a charm with Joe. The early days, he's kind of like this grown-up kid, but it's genuine and authentic. He's just a fun guy. And here's what makes him great. One of the reasons. No fucking ego. Zero. He's so grounded. Joe has come from shit. He's worked his way up. Like, hey, cage fighting commentator, UFC, stand-up comedian. He had his acting gig, whatever. And now this #1 podcast. And because people love him, because you know what? He's a nice guy. He's such a decent man, a really good person. Now, I've never met him personally, but I feel like I know him. For 10 years, I probably know him better than his wife knows him, right? And he's just this decent, good guy. All right, so congratulations, Joe. 10 years coming up. I'm probably one of your #1 fans. I'm your biggest fan. Remember that from Kathy Bates? I'm your biggest fan. If anyone who's not seen Misery, that's Kathy Bates, who's a big fan of James Caan, who's a writer, the Misery series, and she kidnaps him, right? It's a horrible thing. I'm your #1 fan. So, Joe, I'm your #1 fan, but I'm not Kathy Bates. Okay, good friends, good books, and a sleepy conscience. I'll be doing more on this.